So recently, President Trump bowed to media pressure and pressure from neoconservatives and launched a missile strike on Syria. So I was very much against that, and there were a lot of people, both left and right, that were very against that. Now, one of the reasons to be against that strike is not only because the possibility of putting us into a war, which thankfully at the moment seems like it did not. Nonetheless, there are other arguments against it, like human suffering, for example, and of course, the fact that we're spending money, again, on bombing another country when we could actually be doing stuff here. How much money? Well, I'm about to give you a figure. Now, the U.S., according to a lot of different estimates here, fired about 66 Tomahawk cruise missiles on 3 different Syrian targets. Now, it turns out that these missiles cost about $1.4 million each. So 66 missiles at $1.4 million. Now, those are just the Tomahawk missiles, right? Now, the U.S. also fired about 19 different kinds of missiles on Syria as well, for a cost of about $26.6 million. Now, let me give you a little bit more detail about one of these missiles. This is Lockheed Martin's Joint-to-Air Surface Standoff Missile. So this basically is a long-range air-to-ground missile. That missile can strike about 500 miles away and has a cost of $1.4 million each, right? So that brings the total cost to about $26.6 million for the 19 missiles of that type we also launched into Syria. Now, in addition, the Air Force deployed a pair of B-1B Lancers. That's a strategic bomber. And that aircraft is believed to have an operating cost of about $95,000 per flight hour, although we don't know how long they were deployed. Now, in total, according to CNBC, what we know, that attack on Syria and just basically missiles alone, this is not any of the other costs, about $119 million. So the reason that I'm bringing you these costs is because this is how much one precision strike on Syria costs. $119 million. At least. Again, not including refueling costs and the cost for getting things ready for an attack, all that stuff. Fuel for the planes and the carriers, the submarines and things that they launch the missiles from, the destroyers, all that. So, again, there's context here. Now, the problem that I have with this strike is not just because of the material cost, which, as I said, is incredibly high, but also the cost in human lives, the cost in infrastructure. And speaking of infrastructure, what we're not spending money on, fixing our own infrastructure. Now, as I said before, we could pay, with this missile strike, we could have paid for the cost of replacing all the old pipes in Flint. You know, those lead pipes that, by the way, are still not delivering clean water to the residents of Flint, who still pay an outrageously high water bill for basically what is poison. That would have cost $55 million. That is about the cost of 40 Tomahawk missiles. Look, we seem to always have enough money to bomb other countries. It seems like it, right? However, it also seems like we never seem to have enough money in order to fix our stuff at home, to make it so that people in one of the bigger cities have clean drinking water that is not contaminated with lead. Isn't it funny how that works? Now, look, in reality, of course we have the resources, we have the money. It's just that the government ends up choosing war every single time. Oh, no, no, we're going to put that money into attacking people. We're going to put that money into bombing more brown people, which in reality, that money goes straight into the pockets of the defense contractors. Now, speaking of defense contractors, of course, they lobby our politicians relentlessly in order to give them more contracts. Now, what's the result of that? What do they get in return? Well, in return, they make millions, even billions of dollars. For example, Raytheon, that's the company that makes the Tomahawk cruise missile, of which we fired 66 into Syria. They made, in stock options alone, right? Because when that happened, guess what? When the Syria strikes happened, the stock market noticed, and they gave them a $2.5 billion bump. And it's not just Raytheon. It's all these defense contractors, which in total got a stock bonus of $10 billion added to them. The market loves war. And of course, you go and watch CNBC or you watch any of these other, Squawk Box or whatever, these money channels. They're like, oh, you know what stocks are hot? Defense stocks. Go buy them up. Buy them up. That's a sick system. When you're saying, oh, there's going to be a war, there's going to be more bombs, so you might as well invest in what a safe option is. And that safe option is defense contractors. Disgusting. That's what we have in this country. Look, this is why I always say we don't have a money problem, right? We can create money out of thin air. What we do have is we have a resource allocation problem. And that is because we have too many special interests and too much money in politics. And, of course, those special interests and the money coming from defense contractors, they all ensure that that money, our resources, end up only flowing to the rich and corporations and not where it's supposed to go, into the people of this country, into cities like Flint, into our infrastructure, which is falling apart, or, into making sure that people have health care, child care. We don't do any of that. And that is unfortunately why we happen to be behind all other industrialized countries on metrics of education, healthcare, childcare, and of course, general happiness. We're feeding the war machine. We're feeding the military-industrial complex. And that's not what we should be doing. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.